let's do defensive supports. Here we go. Reset. Reset. Okay. Alrighty then. So, defensive supports. And, you know what? Let's get this out the way. Should we get this out the way, guys? Let's get it out the way. Okay, broken tier. Let's see what color it's gonna go. Green? Oh! Oh yeah! That's right, guys. Actually, the most broken build in the entire game? Yeah! It's Heal Scourge. And this is all variants, by the way. I'm kind of talking about the heal variant here, but any variant. This is by far the strongest build in the game, pound for pound. Its carry potential is unmatched. It has 10 target barrier. This thing applies 4K barrier, over 4K actually, to 10 targets every 6 seconds. And it can revive 5 people every 10 seconds. This is the most broken build in all of Guild Wars 2. And it's even better this patch. I mentioned this previously in the last tier list, but because of Herald being so strong, and I'll explain the synergy here, what's Scourge's weakness? It doesn't apply boons. Oh no, that feels bad. But what, But what if there was a really good build that applied all of the basic key boons that Scourge doesn't? Does anyone know a build like that? Yeah, that's right, Herald, specifically Power Herald, Quickness Herald. It applies Might, Fury, Swiftness, Protection, all that good stuff, right? And Quickness, of course, right? So all of a sudden you put those two builds together and they kind of, it covers the weakness of Scourge. And because, funnily enough, again, in the previous tier list, the defensive supports are the offensive supports are really good. So if you pair Heal Scourge with a Herald and, say, a Specter or a Power Mechanist, particularly Power Mech, Power Alack Mech, Power Quickness Herald, Heal Scourge, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That's all the boons covered. You can do stability with that, no problem. You got barrier for days, infinite Condicans. Heal Scourge heals quite a lot with transfusion, by the way, funnily enough. You have the extra healing coming through, an extra barrier from the Mechanist as well. Absolutely insane combo there. And that's not even that efficient. If you go ahead and play the hybrid build here, you're not even going to lose that much damage. Because bear in mind, hybrid Heal Scourge does around, like, a little bit under 25k. It's like 23k, I think. Power Herald is, what, 35k? And Power Mech, oh, what's our Lack Mech? It's like high 20s, I think. Or like mid-high 20s. So you barely lose efficiency on this, and you have the most broken carry comp in the entire game. To be honest, in a lot of scenarios, you probably actually gain damage playing that comp, because you're playing 3 hybrids instead of 2 damage and 1 full heal, right? A lot of the time, it will be even, if not better, right? This is a broken build, and this patch, it's even more broken. And S, I bet you guys aren't going to see this one coming, because it's time to talk about Druid. Yeah, surprise! Druid is actually, in my opinion, the best pure defensive healer in the game that isn't Scourge currently. It is awesome. The reworks to Druid, the better glyphs, right? For example, the numbers tuning, the ability to use Staff 2 on allies, the fact that it's 1200 range healing. It has great boon access with Alacrity now, and all the spirits just pulse the boons forever while you're not there, which is really, really good. It's highly mobile. It's incredibly good at handling mechanics. It's got loads of stuff in its toolkit. You can push, you can immobilize. You have a billion CC crowd controls to get through just about anything. The healing numbers are absurd. The only reason why more people don't play this is because spirits are kind of annoying. They aren't that much fun. But yeah, this is absolutely, in my opinion, the strongest healing. It has superseded the God Emperor Mechanist. But don't worry, guys. We're going to quickly fix up these tiers real quick. Because, don't worry, the Emperor is still here. S tier, Heal Mechanist. Still one of those, you know, mech, a bit of a theme with mech. It's kind of a perfect package, right? It just does everything all in one little beautiful bundle, and it's super efficient. You have Alacrity, you have Barrier, which is awesome. Great boon uptime on all the good stuff. A bit of Aegis and Stability Access thrown in there. Great sustained healing. Is very good at tanking as well if you're playing, you know, playing it as a tank simultaneously. Great crowd control. Some good utility. Not quite as good as Druid in terms of utility, but definitely decent. It does lack that ranged healing and that burst healing. Because Druid's burst healing is colossal, by the way. It is absolutely colossal with what you can do. Yeah, Glyph of Unity is a big thing. I actually forgot to mention that. Glyph of Unity is one of the most God mode healing abilities in the entire game, right? The numbers you see when you pop that are out of this world. I'd highly recommend everyone tries that. In the same way that I'd recommend that everyone tries using Shield 5 to break the Defiance Bar and Bone Skinner, by the way. Because, hey, little fun trick for heal mech, by the way. Or, well, NG Shield, actually. If you do Shield 5, all of the little hands activate the stun that you get from Shield 5, Static Shock, right? Static Shield. And you instantly break the Defiance Bar. Definitely worth going for that. But anyway, yeah, heal mech, still amazing. It's got good damage. Shift Signet is awesome for mobility. Very, very tanky. Great sustain. Has all of the boons. Does a good job, can boon and be active while away from the group. Despite the, you know, the slight inconvenience of, you know, losing some of your stats on your mech if you aren't near it, honestly, it's not a big deal. You have to press the F7 key or whatever, you know, you have to press the return to me key a few more times. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. You can do it, right? It's not that bad. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah. The Seed of Life change instant cast. God mode change. Damn, that's a... Woo, woo. Very good. Okay, so next up, let's do Guardian. So it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag here. I actually think that Heal Firebrand is better than it was before. The Firebrand rework actually fixed one of the core weaknesses of Firebrand, was that you were very cooldown bound. You would go in your Heal Tome or your Tome of Courage, and, oh, I haven't got my major cooldowns for 50 seconds. Uh-oh. That ain't good. Now, you can actually be a lot more reactive and responsive with all of your healing abilities and your key defensive utilities. 8 pages really helps with this. You know, if you have 8 pages, it's very nice. You can be very flexible with your ability usage. I think it is very, very good. Yeah, it is very, very good. In fact, now that I think about it, I think I'm putting it to S tier. I am putting it in S tier, actually. Yeah, new Heal Firebrand is S tier. I've changed my mind. Yep, it's going S tier. Because it really is good. You've still got all the Guardian goodness, you've got your blocks, and honestly, playing Mace now is also really good. You have even more Aegis, even more blocks, and more healing, of course, there. You sustain way better, you have way better utility, you're more responsive. Everything's good for Heal Firebrand. Yep, S tier. Willbender, though. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Oh. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't even put it here. I'm just adding insult to injury, but Heal Willbender, I don't like it that much. I mean, it's definitely playable. It's not, you know, you're not trolling if you play it. It's just very, very mediocre. Very mediocre build. Very mediocre situations. Okay. Let's see. Basically, well, no, I've got to put it in there. ArenaNet need to see it, okay? They need to see Willbender unloved at the bottom. It doesn't really do anything, really. Okay. So, Tempest. An Elementus. We'll do Catalyst as well. I think Tempest is... I don't think Tempest is as good as Mech and Firebrand. It's not. It's not. It just doesn't have the flexibility or the volume of these two builds, especially when it comes to some of the boon application it has. Specifically, the Alacrity usability is pretty bad. I think Shout usability isn't super great either. It is very melee focused as well, unless you take the Signet of Water. It has amazing output. This is probably one of the best sustain healers in the entire game, maybe even the best, because you have the Revive trait, and Soothing Power makes you, combined with Regeneration, you heal your subgroup for like 1,000 a second. Pretty busted there, in my opinion. it really, really is very strong. But there are just a few usability tweaks that prevent it from really going up top. It's amazing. It's really, really, really amazing for that kind of rock solid, right? It's an amazing defensive healer, right? Like, this is the healer that I would break out if I was gonna, oh yeah, things are gonna get crazy, it's gonna get wild. We bust out the Tempest and with the immovable object. And in fact, this was the rationale. I played Heal Tempest for the for progression on Old Lion's Court Challenge mode for this exact reason. I was expecting a lot of very high pressure to come through. So we deliberately actually played a Tempest and a Druid to have both incredible ranged healing and also melee sustained healing from the Tempest to make sure that nobody died in a high pressure scenario. It was a very deliberate pick, actually. To go with the Tempest. It was a Dagger Warhorn Tempest. Yeah, and honestly, the Dagger buff to making Cone of Cold a bit better was actually quite helpful, in fact. I think making the actual, you know, the arc of the cone would be a bit, you know, making that bigger would be pretty nice. But overall, a very solid build. A very, very, very solid build. Catalyst. I don't like this build very much, actually. I don't. You know what? I don't like it. I don't think it's good. This is a B tier build. Okay? It is B tier. Yes, you can give quickness. Yes, you can give many boons. But honestly, the way it works with boon application, it's just a bit clumsy. You don't have a lot of freedom with how you apply them. If you're locked out of water, you're super sad. Your utility skills aren't super useful. You can have Signet of Water, I guess, and you can do... you can have the Elemental to do a lot of healing with water. But no, I don't think so. It has meme usage because you can use the Elite to, like, reset your Geyser and go for a Hyper Res, right? And just, like, Omega Res with, like, a triple Geyser to Insta-Res people. That is the meme usability. You can do a Super Ultra Self-Res. But other than that, bleh. Nah. Needs a special thing. Honestly, I think, in my opinion, a Catalyst is much better as an offensive support. I think that's where its true strength can be, is something a bit more akin to Herald rather than a healer. Speaking of Herald, Heal Herald. This, okay, is a sleeper build. Sleeper build. Are you gamers ready? This is actually, you know, I think this is the top of A tier. It's the top of A tier. But Heal Herald is, I think it's the best healer to start playing. I think it's, what's amazing about it is its ease of use. Right? It has such fantastic usability from a new player perspective. And, you know, it does, you go, oh, I've got to give up Ventari to give stability with Chalice. Honestly, you barely even care about that. Like, you do give up ranged healing for that, which does suck, don't get me wrong. But you have 600 radius regeneration, which kind of compensates for that. And you heal a lot with just staff auto-attacking, right, as well. It's not like you heal nothing if you don't have Ventari. But yeah, the rev downside of only being able to pick 2 legends kind of limits this build, as you do have to make a fairly significant trade-off to do that, whereas other builds don't really have to in order to apply some of these boons. But I actually think the boon access is so good, the crowd control is so good, right? The utility is pretty solid as well, with a few you know, clever choices on how you play. Yeah, Heal Herald is actually really strong, I think. And this, you'll notice, again, I want to reinforce, this is why we aren't really going below B tier here, right? Like, everything in the game is actually very, very strong. Like, very, very strong here right now. So I give Heal Herald a very high rating. I'd actually recommend this build to anyone. If you guys like smooth, relaxing, chilled out clears, just blasting through everything, infinite boons all over the place, all the, you know, the boons never running out. If you don't like seeing those boons do the thing where they kind of blink and it's like, ah, the boon's running out, play Herald. Because trust me, if you play this build, the boons never run out. They're there forever, right? Yeah, very underrated build. Very underrated build indeed. Okay, anyway, Scrapper. I really don't like Heal Scrapper. It's not, it hasn't clicked with me. It hasn't clicked with me. I don't like it that much. I don't think the boon access is super great, to be honest, on it. I think in general, it doesn't really have a lot. I think it's B tier. It's like a B tier build. It doesn't really have what it takes. It has nice revives. I like the revives. Right? You know, the gyro, you can take the elixir R, and you can actually be a proper res bot, to be honest, on this build. And of course, you have great sustain healing. You know, that's kind of NG's thing, right? With medkit, it can sustain quite nicely. But honestly, getting hit by the mech nerfs, right? They hit medkit, right, to target heal Mechanist, and that also hits Scrapper at the same time. Super speed is fun and really cool too, but it's not there, in my opinion. It's not as strong as all of this stuff up here. So I think it goes in B tier. Weirdly enough, this might be a controversial pick. This might be a controversial one. Okay, get ready. Get ready. Specter? I think heal Specter is actually surprisingly comparable to these builds here. I'm not even joking. You know what? It might even be one of the better ones here, actually. The chat is going to rebel, but I'm putting my foot down. Right? I am putting my foot down. This build is surprisingly good, actually. It is a lot better than you might think. It heals a lot, actually. Of course, it has all the good Spectre stuff and Thief stuff of amazing crowd control, right? Decent boon access, can do a bit of stability here and there, spams a bunch of other random stuff there, covers the basics, right? When it comes to boons. Alongside the alacrity. You could actually even make a pretty interesting build. There's a Bootspur, aka Boots World of Enders. He made a really interesting build that abuses Sanctuary runes for this to just completely spam loads of the Rotwallow Venom and do a surprising amount of damage while actually healing a lot. I'd actually say I think it's probably one of the stronger builds in B tier. Probably the strongest B tier build here, in my opinion. Wells aren't fun, though. And this is the big issue with Spectre, actually, in general. And I think perhaps the reason why people don't play it is Wells just don't really feel that much fun to use, honestly. They're really annoying. They're not fun. And that pushes it down in the tier list, but also that is why you don't see builds like this kind of pop up nearly as much as you might expect. So yeah, that's it for Thief. Let's do Mesmer. Right. Heal Chrono is C tier. I don't think it's good. It kind of heals a little bit, but stuff being delayed. The usability of stuff like the super speed on Wells is very, very meh. The healing is all right. Okay. The boons are okay. You know, you can do a lot on Mesmer. You have all the Mesmer usefulness, but you're a lot better off getting this on a damage build, right? Rather than a heal build. So yeah, it's pretty... By the way, I want to see this build good, okay? Do you know what would... Okay, this build could be really good. Do you know how? If they give Chaos Bountiful Disillusionment back in PvE only, so in other words, you share all the boons you get on Shatter, in PvE, okay. Oh yeah, yeah, ooh yeah, woo yeah. Then I think this build actually is super cool. Maybe some buffs to Inspiration as well. All of a sudden, I actually think that Heal Chrono could absolutely be a thing. Kind of back to that... back to the old school days of Minstrel Chronomancer back in the day. You know, that's on my YouTube channel right there. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, it definitely needs a few tweaks. But it's not that far away. It is not that far away from being really strong. I know it's C tier, but a few tweaks could make this build really good. Now, I'm going to put a Lack Mirage here in C tier, but I'm going to caveat because otherwise the elitists are going to flame me. There are actually... This is weird, and this is fun, by the way. And there are some situations where kind of heal a Lack Mirage is actually really good, right? You know, it's been played a few times on Harvest Temple Charge Mode, and it actually sustains surprisingly well. And of course, because it's Mirage, it actually hits pretty hard. This build is actually surprisingly good. So I'm going to get roasted, right, for this, but it's a lot better than you'd actually think. It doesn't sound like it makes any sense, but it's actually surprisingly good. So keep an eye on that one as well. When the Chaos buffs come through, oh yeah, then we're getting Busto mode. Okay, the Chaos buffs will make Heal Mirage broken as well. Yeah. I like it. That's good. But anyway, there you go. It's, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not what I would recommend. Let's see what's left. What's left? Bladesworn. It is... I'm actually going to add a new tier. Died because of PvP. Okay? No, wait. Let's think. What's a funnier way of putting this? Yeah. It's not actually that bad. No, I feel bad. I was going to do a hilarious meme because basically this build got kind of hit pretty hard because of Bladesworn being really busted in PvP. So they changed the way it worked a fair bit to make it less broken in PvP. But actually, it probably actually is one of the stronger builds here, weirdly enough. It's actually not that bad. It's really not that bad at all, actually. It's like here. Yeah, it's around here. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. Oh, do you guys want Renegade as well? Heal Renegade is bad. No. Heal Renegade is C tier. Again. Heal Renegade is C tier. I will actually put Heal Untamed here. Heal Untamed is meme tier. Okay, here we go. We can have meme tier. Because it's worth mentioning, I guess. But it is meme tier. It's not... It's one of those builds that's very hard to quantify. It's probably not good. You can kind of do some crazy stuff, but to be honest, you play this if you like red noses and clown wigs, right? You want to be the circus. You want to become the circus. And go ahead and play this. That is what you're doing with that one. Meme tier. Okay. Yeah, we did Renegade. Did we miss anything here? No. Guys, Heal Harbinger is not a thing. It's not. It's not. It's not a thing. Yeah. Heal Vindicator and Heal Harbinger are not a thing, guys. They were, but then Alacrity got removed from Core Rev, so unlucky Vindies. And Harbinger? No. This is like... Heal Harbinger is... Imagine if Heal Scourge was worse in basically every way. But not just like a little bit worse. A million times worse. Yeah. It does give quickness, I guess. Right? It got... Fine, meme tier. Meme tier. That's how it is. Yeah. Meme tier, guys. You're in. You can transfuse people, and it does look pretty sick, actually, because you leap around transfusing people. That is pretty cool. Okay? I like it. And you can do some damage, and maybe apply Fury, and a bit of Might, and Swiftness. But it's not good. It's not good. It isn't good. Okay. Yeah, this is Bladesworn. Bladesworn is like the shout, is like the heal warrior. The big problem with heal warrior, to talk about that a little bit more, is it doesn't have a good main hand weapon, and your utility skills get locked out by banners that aren't very usable. And you also don't really have a good heal skill. If there was a healing banner, like a heal skill banner, then it could be something. But it probably needs some reworks, or maybe even another elite specialization to properly exist. But there it is. There is the state, the absolute state of defensive supports. And funnily enough, I said this last time. In my opinion, defensive supports are actually where the game needs the most work. As you can see here, there are a few... It's a bit, it's a bit bottom heavy here, right? There's a lot of builds that exist that could really use a change. There's a lot of very overperforming stuff like this, kind of like this tier. These 3 tiers here are very, very overperforming. And then there's a lot of builds that exist, but really, really need some love. And I think that this would actually shake up the meta by adjusting these a lot, right? Like making these a fair bit stronger would, I think, be really, really, really good for the game. And I actually hope to see CMC tackle that in the next patch. Hitting this is going to be how you make the game way more full of life, right? Because it's worth noting that, bear in mind that the choices for your support for alacrity or quick, your healer choice massively affects the choice for the non-heal boon support, right? Because typically you're going to have like one healer that gives boons and one DPS that gives boons, right? But if the ones that are really, really strong are always the same, then you always pick the same complementary one. Does that make sense, right? So for example, if Boon Herald is always good, is really, really good. If like the aggressive quickness supports always are really good, so basically Firebrand, right? Herald, then you're always going to pick an Alacrity healer, right? And, oh, congratulations, we basically kind of like, boop, bopped stone dead half the healers. You're going to see them a lot less frequently, right? And it just turns out that, of course, Herald and, say, Mechanist have amazing synergy together, right? So that obviously works out really, really well for that. Same with Quickness Firebrand and Mech. They have amazing synergy, so it kind of heavily biases the meta in one direction because certain builds have really good synergy with each other, and because one side is incredibly strong, you always pick the complementary side to the other end of that, right? Which is why you see the meta quite rigid and stuck, because it's like two halves that are connected and you can't separate them very easily. It needs to be a bit more separated, and there needs to be a bit more fluidity at the top of these support builds, because right now there are actually amazing support builds across the board, right? It's not like any of this stuff is bad. It's just that there's just some really, really no-brain synergy that obviously players pick up on and optimize towards. But anyway, there you go. But yeah, buff Alacrity DPS classes. That's basically the TLDR. Good call there by the chat. I like that.